When Anthem was first displayed at the 2017 E3 convention, people had pretty high hopes for it. A looter shooter online RPG based on an alien planet having quite a bit of resemblance to Bungie's Destiny, made by none other than the masters in RPGs involving aliens, BioWare, who were the makers of the well-renowned Mass Effect franchise. But after only a life cycle of 2 years, Anthem was shut down by EA. If such a big AAA game with millions poured into the project was shut down after just such a short period of time, a question has to be asked. What went wrong? Before starting off the video, I would quickly like to ask you to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to reach the triple digits by the end of the month, and while you're at it, leave a like and share the video as well. Thank you. On to the video. To say that Anthem's development was a complete pile of steaming horse shit would be an understatement to the situation. The game was first proposed and started development in 2012, where the people weren't sure what the game was meant to be, the fans weren't sure what the game was meant to be, heck, even the developers weren't sure what the game was meant to be. What started as an enthusiastic project soon turned into a complete disaster. With no sense or planning of where the game was supposed to go, the game was still teased in the 2017 E3 convention, meaning that the game realistically had a development period of around 2 years till its eventual release in 2019, which wasn't anywhere near to fulfill the promises EA and BioWare had made. Well, the situation does not get any better. In fact, it gets even worse before even the first line of code is written by a developer. The issue at hand being EA's Frostbite engine. The Frostbite engine may have been amazing for making first-person shooters. Shameless plug, go check out my video about the evolution of first-person shooters from 1973 to today. There would be an iCard appearing on the top right about now. Plug over, back to the video. The Frostbite engine may have been good for first-person shooters, but that's pretty much where it ends. It isn't good enough that it couldn't be replaced by other better engines that are much better suited for what EA was trying to do with Anthem. But EA was reluctant on the use of the engine even though its shortcomings had been pretty evident in just the previous game made by BioWare, Mass Effect Andromeda, and the previous title being such a massive failure. The failure of the studio's biggest franchise built up pressure, and this one game could have decided the fate of BioWare Studios, as EA are known to run studios down into the ground. A live service game like Anthem wasn't really something that was up BioWare's alley either. BioWare specialized in making single-player RPGs with a lot of story and world building, like Mass Effect and Dragon Age. Sure, the core team wasn't the exact same as when these games were being developed, but the values of the studio still remained. The mess only continued to pile up after this. Multiple staff left and new ones joined. Many changes were made, many ideas were scrapped, and almost 2 years passed by, and the date of the release is coming near. Yet, even a few months before release, many features and mechanics are still not finalized, and this was a given seeing how short of a deadline was given to the developers. Anyhow, the release day finally came. The issues in the development and planning started becoming pretty evident as soon as people started downloading the game. The game had clearly needed more time in the oven. It was a buggy, glitchy, and clunky mess. The UI was clunky, the lack of playtesting was clearly seen. On top of that, the game lacked in content. Each and every mission just felt the same, just repeatedly the same gameplay over and over again with nothing to keep the player engaged. Even the core gameplay of looter shooters, which the game was supposed to be based around, felt lackluster, and the game just felt like an empty shell. The nukes had been launched, the game was review bombed everywhere. The game had a 55 rating on Metacritic, and you know you have messed up severely when even game journalists don't rate your game well. When a game journalist starts giving you anything below a 7 by 10, you seriously need to look at what went wrong. It didn't help that Anthem got launched into a market where games like Destiny had already cemented their place and set the bar for what a live service game should be. Despite all this, there were people who still had hope. But to be fair, even Destiny had its fair share of issues on launch that were fixed later down the road as time went on. Yeah, that didn't happen for Anthem. I think we can see a trend of everything that can go wrong will go wrong with this game. Destiny had fixable issues due to the fact that the game had a clear and well-developed core, and the problems around it could be fixed, while Anthem had no core. A new major problem would appear with each passing day. The lack of proper communication from the developers regarding the future of the IP worsened the situation that was already bad. It had so many fundamental issues that fixing it would mean rebuilding the game mechanics and core from scratch. Don't get me wrong, but as Nikola Tesla said, even bad games have a few good features. He didn't say that. Anthem, for all the missed opportunities and mistakes it made, it did some, even if not many, things right. The graphics for one were amazing. I guess when you have 5 years where you don't know anything about what to do with the game, there's plenty of time to work on the graphics. The shooting mechanics were on point, but there wasn't anything in the game to complement it. Flying using the jetpack felt great and enjoyable. Point is, the game had some fun, but it was empty fun. There were individual mechanics that were great, but a game with individual mechanics is ultimately not a good game. And so was the case with Anthem. After 2 years of constant bombardment of negative reviews and BioWare somewhat trying to fix the unfixable, they finally gave up in February of 2021. The Anthem dev team on 23rd February announced that all development on the Anthem Next project that was aimed to make the game better would be stopped, and they would be looking forward towards newer projects. As it stands today, the servers for the game are still up, and you could, if you wanted to, even though you definitely shouldn't, download and play the game. Although spending time and money on the game would be an absolute waste, as the game has no community and there is no updates or dev support. The failure meant that BioWare had dropped two back-to-back disappointments. The damage to their reputation had already been done, and it would take a huge amount of effort to bring a fraction of that respect back. BioWare had become yet another studio ruined in the hands of EA. As it stands now, there haven't been any new games released by BioWare after Anthem, but Mass Effect 5 is set to be in development. According to sources, the game is going to be a single-player RPG like the previous installments of the franchise, which is what BioWare excels in, most of the time that is. Mass Effect 5 will be a big game for the studio. Anthem couldn't be built back up, but their image in the community needs to be. And that pretty much about covers everything up. If you liked the video, do leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you can, share the video with your friends, as that helps the channel out a lot. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.